Okay.
We're live again.
Yes, we are.
I don't know, but it hasn't come on that.
It hasn't come on this either.
Hey guys, we're having technical problems. Not sure, maybe it might be the storm. Just give us a holler if you're out there. Say hello. Yes? No?
Maybe.
Oh, it's saying it's live.
But it's,
Oh, yep, we're going. I think.
Is it live?
um,
Yep. No, that's the
it's
beginning.
the old one. Sorry.
How come you got your volume up?
It's starting again.
Leanne?
It's, pardon?
Can you turn the volume down?
Yeah, I did. I just. Yep, you're right, you're on.
I'm not talking.
That was a couple of minutes ago.
We will get this message out. Because there's a young man watching tonight that needs to watch this.
I think, does it say you're on live? It says here that you're on. But is this before?
Go tap into it.
No, that was before. That was 27 minutes ago.
Right now, is there a live button?
No,
Yeah,
it's
we're
not.
we're live now.
Yeah, we are right now.
Hello, guys. All
Well, we're
right.
having technical problems. Rob, can you please try and reset that one so we can see?
Yeah. It's
So
not
it-
coming up here.
Please let me know if you are
Yep.
online. Yes?
Yes.
You're online. Sorry, guys. We've got a storm happening on the Gold Coast, so everything just shut down. And we're trying to re-establish that. It's a real pity that this interview has been cut into two sections now. Hopefully, no more. All right, James, because we're right in the heart of things, and I know for a fact that there are people out there that need to listen to this message tonight. So if you're going to share, please share both shows, both clips. Yeah, the earlier one and then this one as well. So please share this on your Facebook, guys. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah, real quick before I get into my story, I just wanted to answer a question that Katie had, and she asked, "Do you think lack of positive direction in life contributes to people using ice?" And absolutely, you know, because I didn't have anything to look forward to when I was younger, so I don't know, like, you know, yeah, like drugs was everywhere in my childhood, and that was just like the go-to thing.
Yep.
You know, there wasn't, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know anything like that other than, you know, like drugs was just everywhere. So that, yeah, that is the, positive direction. That's
Yep.
absolutely important.
So we really like to encourage youth to get involved in art, in music, in sport. It's in the nothing that, you know, that things like ice can come in and just, you know, take them, take lives. And, you know, I had children and I always kept them really engaged in, extra sporting activity, dancing and all kinds of activity after school, to hopefully that they would get passionate enough about something, not to go down that path. I mean, it's different for everybody, and that was your experience, and that, you know, I grant that, and that can happen to a lot of people. With me, I didn't have that. You know, I had money, I had, you know, set up a life that I was really happy with, and I didn't have a reason to embark on that. It was pure lack of knowledge and curiosity that got me into that lifestyle, and, you know, wanting to be loved and accepted, you know, and so so there's different reasons for different people, you know. Some people may try drugs because they want to mask pain. You know, they've got stuff that, you know, ever since they were young that they're living with, that they're hurting so much that they want to they think that the drug is going to make it better. And initially it does, but it's a Band-Aid fix, and under that Band-Aid, you know, an infection starts to fester, you know, and you can't get rid of the scars later, you know. That's the way that I see it. So there's different reasons for different people. We're all individually and wonderfully made, and I grant that is a big reason, especially out in rural communities. I know there's not much for them to do, you know, and have hope for, and get motivated about life. So choose life instead of death, you know. But everybody knows that drugs aren't good for you, and you know. But we went down that pathway. I believe it's because we didn't have enough information. If you'd known, like you said before.
Absolutely, and that's one thing I want to say is ICE doesn't discriminate. You know, it's not something that you go looking for. It's something that finds you. It is something that does find you, and it finds you when you're at your most vulnerable point. You know, and that's that's what's so important about what AARC does. You know, because helping in the prevention of ICE and educating, because if I'd known what went into that stuff and what was going to happen to me, and I was going to have a 7-year long shameful struggle with ICE addiction, then there's no way in hell I would have touched it.
Yeah, absolutely, and we hear that all the time, through people who've been there, and we're blessed with the opportunity to go out and warn these kids before. Yeah, sometimes when we approach a school, they'll go, "Oh, but our school doesn't have that problem." Great, that's exactly why we want to get in here. We want to keep it from coming in here. Our youth are going to get introduced to it. You know, whether you like to think that or not. Out in the streets, in the schoolyards, in their extra curriculum outside of school, when they start going to clubs or restaurants with their friends and outings, they're going to get introduced to it. You know, we've had incidences where teachers have walked kids onto the bus because there's been dealers outside. I know that for a fact. So, there's kids as young as 8 up in Cairns using ICE, James. I was just like, oh my goodness, we've got to get to these kids sooner rather than later, because we need to expose it for what it is, and we need to warn them.
Yeah.
We owe that, to community. It would be an injustice if we didn't do that. But the best news that I had was from somebody that came to volunteer with us, and she went to high school in Ireland, and she said to me, she goes, I really wanted to help what you're doing because it's a big problem here in Australia. She said, in Ireland, I went at high school, we had somebody that was an addict, came in and spoke at our school, and she goes, and what she told me, when I did face drugs and it was offered to me, I remembered the hell story that she told me, and I didn't want to end up like this. She goes, I never touched it. And I went, oh my goodness, you're my living testimony that this works. So it is so
That's
important.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really amazing that she was in her late 20s, and she never touched drugs, because every time it was offered to her and her friends were doing it, she remembered this lady that told her the journey that she went on, and she's like, no, I don't want it. I don't want that for my life. And really that's what we do.
Yeah.
Expose it for what it is. So James, let's go back to your story.
All right.
Thank you, Katie, for asking that question. It's very relevant. So back to your story, James. You were you started using more regularly, and then it became a daily habit.
Yeah, and I was just living this. My whole every day, what was running through my head was ICE.
Yeah.
And it was like, 90% of my mental capacity was thinking about ICE. I only had 10% to think about, my family, work, and it was just
Your well-being.
Yeah, my well-being, and I just didn't, just hijacked my brain, and that's all I could, could think about, and there's just so much to the story, because I remember so many days, so many different things that happened, so many, things that I'd done to people, and I just couldn't, it just wasn't me, now me looking back at all these things, it just wasn't me, but
Tell us some of the things that happened to you on that journey, James. I know that you got kids now, and but before that, what was your lifestyle like?
Were
you working?
Yeah, I was working, and I'd work away one week, come back
That's
one
right.
week. Yeah. So you know, I'll tell you what my life was like. You know, so I'd wake up in the morning like with my partner, I suppose, and I'd go to work, and you know, I'd be thinking about us the whole day. You know, I can't wait to get off work so I can go pick up. You know, and you know, my partner at the time, she'd be like, "What time you finish? What time you finish?" And I was 6:30, but really I finished at 5. You know, and I spent an hour and a half going to pick up boss, and then going home. You know, and you know, telling her that I bloody work late.
Yeah.
You know, so that was like one thing I did on the daily. You know, and then not only that, but you know, instead of spending time, I couldn't spend, you know, a good amount of time with her, you know, because I'd be thinking about us, you know, I couldn't spend more than like an hour, hour and a half with her because I had to go use a substance, you know, and then you know, and like it's just crazy, but you know, and we'd go to bed, and you know, because I'd used ice, I wasn't tired, so you know, I'd lay with her for, you know, 5-10 minutes, and you know, I'd be awake all night, and she'd have to go to sleep by herself. You know, and you know, just stuff like that, and then you know, you know, we did have you know, she got pregnant. You know, she got pregnant, and you know, I was so worried as well because I was using ice. You know, I was like so worried that, you know, like our child would you know, be deformed or something like that. So I was living with this, you know, this real, you know, bad anxiety as well, and you know, at what I was doing. You know, and
hiding it at the same time. That's a torment, James. That is a real torment, brother, because you're not being authentic, you know, and you're not living the ultimate life, and your life is being revolved by this substance. Ice had you, you know. It's like a demon that, you know, possesses you, isn't it?
Absolutely. And like one thing I do remember was like I justified it to myself, like, you know, I thought to myself, oh yeah, you know, I'll work hard, you know, I'll buy her a present here and there, you know, like, and you know, I deserve to, you know, have a pipe after work, you know, I deserve to do this, you know, and that's how I sort of like justified it in my head. You know, I didn't know I was insane at the time, you know, like, I just thought it was normal.
And were you insane at the time, James? Like,
I didn't feel insane, but
what kind of things were you doing that would, you know, put you in an insane box, looking at it back now?
You know, I couldn't, you know, like my priorities, like for one, you know, like what should have been, you know, top of the list and that sort of thing. I was doing complete useless things, you know. I'd be digging holes in the, I was digging holes in the backyard, like no reason for it, you know, and I had like these, you know, weird ideas, and like, you know, I thought I was being creative, but I was really just accomplishing nothing, you know. I'd be digging holes, I'd be, you know, gluing stuff to the house. I don't know what I was thinking, you know what I mean, like, but in my head it all just sort of made sense, you know. I'd go to Bunnings, buy, you know, stuff I didn't need, and I'd like just, you know, do all sorts of stuff, but
you gotta laugh about it now. It's so ridiculous that you know, when you look at it, it's like, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? You weren't.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Ice hijacks the frontal lobe of the brain, guys, that you can't process logic, rational decisions, and you do irrational things. You know, things don't make sense, and you're kind of in and out of knowing what you're doing, but you can't process it. And you know, one of our videos that we show in schools, you know, one of the girls, she's picking at her face and she's got scabs all over her face, and she says, you know, I know I'm doing it, but I can't stop. You know, it's like, it's satisfying, and it's like, well, why can't you stop? You know, it doesn't make any logical sense to somebody that's not using, but your brain doesn't actually allow you to do that. So it's illogical, irrational, your processing center's not working, and you're doing these things and not really being able to think, you know, consequence and why, you know, why are you doing it? You're just acting on your midbrain, which is your animal brain, and that only cares about the next 5 minutes of pleasure generally, So, and it just does crazy stuff, you know. So you were digging holes in the backyard.
Yeah.
What was it like? What was your family saying, like?
You know,
how were people reacting?
I think like, because I'd been using ice for years, you know what I mean. So I think like ice became a part of my personality, like my, you know, how it affected me was sort of my personality. It became a part of. So you know, and how they dealt with me. I was the sort of person, you know, I was so you know, because I was high all the time, I felt so sure of myself. So when, you know, when family would try talk to me, I just, you know, I just shut them down straight away, you know, because, you know, my word is law, you know, like that's what it, you know, felt like. I felt like I knew everything. I felt like I knew what I was doing, and like, yeah, you know. But how my family dealt with me, a lot of different aspects, you know, like, because, you know, I was doing things to my mum, I was doing things to, you know, my partner.
What kind of things? Like, I'm trying to paint a picture,
Yeah.
and I know it's hard to go there and remember these kind of things, James, but
I would just, like, in the way that I treat them, I'd be moving like 1,000 times faster in my head, you know, so how would I treat them? I don't know. I'll just be real,
angry?
yeah, real bossy,
Yeah.
you know, and like irritable. Like if I didn't, you know, if I didn't have ice, you know, recently, then you know, I'd be real irritable.
Yep.
You know, and like real just like shut offish. So you know, I'd be swearing at them, or you know, and like just real cutting them off, and you know, just isolate myself, and I suppose the thing is, like, my family didn't really deal with me, I guess. Like, they just sort of
put up with you.
just put up with me, you know. They just accepted me for me. I don't know if they really knew I had a problem, you know.
Did they know you were using, like?
I have no idea, you know what I mean. I have no idea, to be honest. Like I'm sure that they did, you know, like, because I was up every night, you know, days on end, you know, sleep, you know, a couple of hours here and there and that sort of thing. But I don't really know, to be honest.
And that's like, you know, some of the things that we teach or talk about in community forums. When we come out to a community and we do a forum, we engage in a conversation and a workshop so that you can learn about what's the signs and symptoms to look out for. How do you know your loved one might be using? What kind of behaviour are you looking out for? If you do find out that they're using, what's the conversation going to be like? And what are you going to say, and how's that going to pan out, and what's the pathway after that, and what's the boundaries, and you know, so we talk about all these kind of things in community forums so that you can better equip yourself, you know, to recognise, look out for the signs and symptoms, you know, of using ice particularly, and the kind of irrational and erratic behaviour that comes along with that. Sometimes it can be very easily missed, especially in the early stages, and if you can catch that in the early stages, it's much easier to deal with and to do an intervention and to have treatment. You don't necessarily have, you know, depending on how long you've been using, don't necessarily have to go into long-term rehab for a long time. So better sooner rather than later, less damage in the brain sooner rather than later in your organs. Let me tell you that we actually have evidence and research around the fact that a youth using ice only 6 times shows brainwave patterns of that of early onset of Parkinson's. Okay, just 6 times. So, you know, we don't believe in harm reduction on ice. How much poison is it okay? You know, just have a little bit of poison, you know, less regularly. Sorry, but it's poison. And it is destroying your vascular system, your heart, your neurological pathways in your brain. It's depleting your dopamine supply and the transporters and receptors that produce that. That whole repair system of the chemical balance in your brain alone after ice addiction takes 12 to 18 months for repair. So, you know, it's a long-term journey.
You're back on.
Okay, sorry guys. Bye.
Full of interruptions tonight.
Full of interruptions tonight, but we're back on. Yeah, we just had a phone call. So the, where was I?
You don't know the full effects.
You don't know the full effects and, you know, long term, but we do know that, you know, the vascular system, the heart, the brain, the neurological pathways, the dopamine supply, the serotonin, kidneys, your liver, everything, all of that, we do know that that's affected. How long for, are there any other long-term effects? We don't know. But I think, you know, everybody deserves the right to know what's about this drug and know it from lived experience. You know, it's no good just given a piece of paper and saying, here, read this, that really ain't going to change much, you know.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't make sense, especially like if you haven't tried it or anything like that, and you don't know what it's like. It's not going to make sense to you because, you know, I remember like using ice, and you know, my teeth are like rotting in my mouth, and like, you know, I've got like open wounds on me, and you know, that just like, you know, it wasn't reason enough to stop. You know what I mean? I had all these like things happening to me, and it just like, my judgment was so, it wasn't there,
It was impaired, yeah.
you know?
And that's, you know, it freezes the frontal lobe of the brain. Your judgment is not there. Your brain is not operating. And again, I'm going to enforce, that's why, guys, that we do lived experience buddies. That's why we have these guys and ourselves too. While that person's brain's not working, we know what they're feeling like. We know what they're going through, and we're prepared to stand there and be their logic, rational decision. That was offered to us, so you know, we want to give back and be that till that person can think on their own again and make sense of the disaster that comes tumbling down after when you're trying to come down off ice and detox.
Yeah.
So then you were. How did you decide to change? Like, what happened that you said, I can't do this anymore? But you had a couple of kids. And
You know, like, you know, it was like really, yeah, it was my kids and like my partner at the time, and you know, like my mum and like my partner's dad and that sort of thing. And, you know, yeah, like.
But did they sit down and talk to you? Did they say, we have a problem, Jane?
Yeah, so I went like real bad. I had like drug-induced psychosis, and I was going like real loopy in my head. I was seeing things that weren't real. I was hearing things that weren't real, and you know, and like my like my father-in-law at the time and my mum had like come over, you know, and they were telling me I needed help, and you know, I was just going like mental. I didn't know what they were like talking about, I suppose. Like, they were telling me I needed help, and I still didn't like really know what was going on, and like, just, you know, I was losing it. And then in a split like one moment decision, you know, I made the decision to walk to the police station, and I walked there and I handed myself in, and you know, I said I need help. You know, I'm a drug addict. You know, I need help.
Wow, that's a big thing to do. Did you did the police, were they after you? Like,
No, they weren't after me or anything.
But you didn't know where else to go.
Yeah, I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, so I went there, and you know, they you know, they were really empathetic with me, you know, and they were really kind, you know, and they looked after me, like, because, you know, they did help me, you know, they helped me a lot. Yeah, so they organised for an ambulance to come and, you know, put me in the ambulance, and I went off to the hospital, got tests done, and then I started my journey on recovery.
Wow.
And, yeah.
You know, and it takes a strong person to actually go, hey, I've got a problem. All right, I put my hand up, I need help. That is incredible, you know, and it took a brief intervention, you know, it took a brief intervention from your family. The worst thing you can do, guys, is say nothing. You know, if you have a loved one in addiction, please, you know, come and speak with us. You know, we are trained to do this, and we'll help you, you know, help you with the tools that you need to help your loved one and create a pathway into recovery. Yeah, because there is a way, and don't ignore it. Don't let it go, you know, untreated. You know, because the end result of ice addiction, James, really, if you keep going down that path, the end result is either three things. You're going to end up with serious mental health issues. You're going to end up in prison, or you're going to end up dead. So, you know, if you have a loved one that is in that addiction cycle, you know, the best thing you can do is to get informed. Okay, get some tools, learn what you can do, and, you know, bring in one of us. You know, say to your loved one, will you talk to somebody who has been there and has come out? You know, 99.9% of the time they'll say, yeah, all right, when they've had enough, you know, and we'll come and have a cup of coffee, and we'll help them create a pathway into recovery.
Absolutely.
So you were really blessed that your family you know, came and really did that, James, because
I was.
a lot of times people cut off their families due to, you know, thieving and police, and, you know, there's all kinds of and violence, you know. And again, the violence is induced through a chemical imbalance in the brain. Serotonin is a chemical in the brain that, when it's depleted through ice, which that does happen very quickly, sparks impulse action and anger. So a lot of violence comes from that, you know, and you're coming down and, you know, you're edgy and you've got anxiety and, you know, you just need the next hit, and that coupled with that imbalance of chemicals really can spark up. I've seen some horrific family people being hurt, and then they're very remorseful, you know, about their actions, but it's too late, you know, it's too late. And so the worst thing, you can just keep allowing that to happen, you know, to address it. So then you went in, you went into hospital, you did detox in hospital, did you?
Yeah, I did detox in hospital, you know, and like I ran away the second day, I think I did, like, because you know, cravings started kicking in, you know, and like the desire to recover, that faded off, you know. So yeah, the cravings like kicked in, and I ran away, and I ended up like using, you know, like went all through that to go there, and then I ran away, and then I used again. But like, because I'd run away, the cops came and got me. Yeah, so they brought me back, and you know, I had to do 21 days in there. I couldn't leave after that. So and that's when I first got my first clean time up. You know, so I did 21 days in the mental hospital in Adelaide, and like that was like 21 days clean in years. I'd never done that before. Like, you know, I'd never been one day clean.
Wow.
You know, before, like, in years, and then you know, I got my first little bit of like recovery there, and you know, and that really helped. You know, that sort of started. That was the foundation for my recovery.
So you got a taste of recovery, you know, and we've got some presenters that they have not wanted recovery. They didn't know they wanted recovery, and then through a court diversion, you know, they actually had to go to rehab, and they said, oh well, it's better than jail, so I'll go to rehab, and they end up, you know, after a couple of months tasting recovery and going, I really want this, you know, and following through, which is, you know, it's a great thing that, you know, the drug court that used to happen. A lot of people it changed a lot of people's lives, you know, to have the opportunity to go to rehab or to have help to get clean, as opposed to going to jail, you know. Yes, I'm a great believer that you do the crime and you pay the time. Unfortunately, in jail there's no rehab. They go into jail, there's ice in jail, and you know, 90% of our jails are full with people who've been trapped in ice addiction, and as a consequence have committed crime, violence, hurt a lot of people, and you know, when they come out just as angry, but they haven't worked through the issues, and they're angry, and the first thing that you do is walk out and hit up again. So it becomes a cycle, and they're in and out, and really what we need is an opportunity to help that person step out of that cycle of addiction and understand the underlying issues of addiction, to be able to work through that, and to be able to plan a clean and better life for themselves,
Yeah,
because it is possible.
It is possible, you know, and you know, I think it's important as well, like, because for myself, you know, I forgot what, you know, it was 17 when I was clean, you know what I mean? I forgot what it was like to be clean, you know, and I know so many people still that are, you know, have forgotten what it is to be clean, you know, and it truly is a blessing, you know, and it really is something to strive for, you know, and you know, ice just has nothing. Ice just has nothing like for you, you know. It feels like it does and that sort of thing, but it's just an illusion, you know, and it just, you know, it's just, but
Steals you from relationships, and really you had then your kids.
Yeah, and with the kids, you know, and like some of the things I was doing, you know, like you know, like you know, my son would be in the cot, you know, asleep, and you know, he'd be asleep in the cot, you know, and it'd just be me and him there, and you know, I'd rush out, use ice, and like, you know, sometimes he'd wake up, you know, and he'd have to, you know, like, you know, I'd have to cry for a little bit before Daddy came back, you know, and you know, stuff like that. And you know, I remember I could, you know, it was so hard to get out of bed unless I had ice waiting for me, you know what I mean? And
Interruptions.
yeah, and yeah, you know, it was so hard to get out of bed unless I had ice waiting for me. And
Yeah.
you know, if I didn't, you know, my partner would have, like my partner at the time, she'd wake up at 7 with the kids, you know, let me sleep in till 8:30, and because she'd wake me up at 8:30, I'd be angry,
Yeah.
you know, like because I didn't have ice. And
Yeah. Because you're an age, you know, you need it. So it becomes like airs, isn't it?
it does.
It does.
Yeah.
But in the interim, the people around you, you know, they're the ones hurting.
Mm.
And so you know, your kids, were they the reason that you?
This is how like powerful ice is like, because I had you know, I had like little spurts throughout my like 7 years of addiction where I was like, oh okay, I have a problem I need to try and stop, and it would be very short like little spurs that I wanted to recover. And then sorry, what was the question?
Were your kids part of the reason why you wanted to, you know, recover? Did you see that your kids were missing out on their dad?
I did, but it still didn't have the effect it should have. You know, ice overpowered that desire that children should have to recover. You know, it just overpowers everything.
Yeah.
You know, even kids like my children weren't a good enough reason for me to stop smoking ice.
Yeah.
They weren't.
Yeah.
And you know, that hurts my heart to say that, but you know, that is the truth.
Yeah.
You know.
Ice masks your feelings you actually don't feel and you don't think. So I can understand and relate to that. You know, and I used to say to my partner at the time when he was using, you know, let's become your wife. You know, that is everything, you know, and it used to make me so angry because I was on the gear as well, and the serotonin, you know, so there was this clash. But, you know, it was like, that became your everything. Like, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. And people will hurt their children, you know. We've got, you know, just to give you an idea, guys, another 400 child safety workers were hired in Queensland this year to take the 486 unborn meth babies coming. Yeah, and because they are left and they don't not wanted, and the person can't think straight, and you know the something's happening with the video.
No, it's still on.
Yes, still.
Just putting your centre frame.
Thank you. So yeah, that is what happens. You know, you can't think logic, rational. The kids are not safe in somebody's hands that is using ice. That's the true fact. Not to count that the substance is going in, you know, through the walls, you know, and it is going to affect the kids and whoever's in that house. It's going to affect their internal organs. You know, I know that as a fact in Rockhampton, somebody that I know had a caravan that they bought, and they let their child play in there. And what happened was, you know, their child started to get sick. And she started to bleed internally, and they didn't know what was wrong with her, and they thought she was dying, and they took her to the hospital, and they were doing all these tests, and what they found was that she had meth in her body. And he's like, impossible, you know, we don't do that. So they started to test everything that had been in contact with the child, and it was in the walls of the caravan they just bought, you know. So, you know, if you're a parent out there and you are using, and you think it's only affecting you in your house, if your kids are in there, you are actually affecting them, you know, their organs. You are actually affecting them internally. You know, some of the chemicals in ice, and I didn't know this till I was clean for about a year. Some of the chemicals in ice are things like Drano and acetone, you know, road flares, you know, Matchbox Strikers, all the countertop cleaners, you know, with horrific poisons in there. You know, there's nothing good in there. You know, and the fumes of that come out in the air. I don't know if you've ever smelt ammonia, but you know, ammonia is one of the things that is usually used to make ice. But ammonia stinks. You know, when you clean it, have you ever smelt it? Same as acetone, but some of the fumes that come out and go into the walls and affect your loved one is really going to damage them long term. So, you know, if you are a parent that's in addiction and you're contemplating change, please, you know, for your kids' sake, I urge you to connect with us. Please call us. We would love to help you. And that number is 075665 6063. Yeah. And
Can I build on that?
absolutely,
Yeah, because
absolutely, please.
the road to recovery is an extremely long road. You know, and like when I first wanted to recover, you know, I was still using. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like because I got clean for a little bit, but then I started using again, and like I still wanted to recover, but I couldn't stop myself from using. So like that, you know, don't beat yourself up so much. Just make contact, you know, just make contact, and that's it. You know, that's all you need to do to start is just make contact, and you know that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
You know,
That's good. That's really good because you know, one day at a time. It really is, and you know, we'll help you along that path of things that you need to do to get to really step into recovery. But you know, it takes one phone call, and it takes one day and one conversation.
I just saw like Michael Thompson, I think it was, on there. Am I 100% over ice? The like fact is, like, once you might know yourself, I'm not sure, but like once you know what ice feels like, you'll never forget that. You'll never forget that. And I'm 99.9% over ice, but when that craving, I'll still have a craving here and there, you know what I mean? And I'll probably always have that for the rest of my life because, you know how it feels. But 99 point, the closest you can get without a doubt. You know.
And you've got a system of a tripod system of support around you. You've got, you know, a reason bigger than yourself, you know, to stay clean. You know, and I know for a fact you've got God in your life, so that is awesome. You know, we give it up to the high power, and you know, we know that God's in control. You know, we can ask for help. You know, we can really ask for help, and it's about, you know, having the people around you, you know, that are not using that, you know, have a life, you know, and really that you can engage and do life with, as opposed to, you know, isolate yourself from life, isn't it, James?
Yeah.
Because that really, this drug really does that. It isolates you from everybody that you love and your life. So it's about surrounding yourself with people that care about you and that you know, can encourage you, and and focusing on the things that are important, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's real important, like, because like Katie had asked before about having a positive direction in your life. The anti-ice campaign is a good like positive direction that you can take, you know, because because there's so many people that are using ice, we need lived experienced people, you know. It's a very good like reason to use to turn your life around, to, you know, make the worst thing that happened to you the best thing that happened to you, you know, because there are so many people out there that need help. So if there's a time to recover, it's right now.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
right. That's awesome. We have a quick a statement here for you. Corey says, you clearly have a beautiful heart, James. We can see you really love your mum. Keep kicking goals. That's awesome.
I do, you know, like, it's just so hard, like, you know, I've heard a lot of people, and like my kids, and, you know, like my ex-partner, and, you know, it's just not fucking, oh, I'm sorry, I swore there. Yeah, it's just not
I know you
worth
get
it,
angry,
you know.
you know, and it's okay to get emotional. It's okay to feel, you know, remorse about what you've done, but you really, that's what happened. You know, we can only move forward on who you are, and you're an amazing person, James, and you come here to the Gold Coast for training on your own expense. you've come, you know, your parents, your mum's helped you get here. You've undergone training. You're still continuing training so that you can go out there and help other people. And that says something amazing about you.
Yeah.
You're serious about your recovery. You're serious about giving back, and that, you know, I love being in company. You know, right with you and all the other presenters, man, because you know you're people who've been through hell and back. Yeah, and it's everybody makes a mistake. Condemn you. He who throws the first stone. You have got no sin in your life. Yeah, that happened. We're not proud of it. We can only change what's coming tomorrow, mate. Yeah. And I just think you're an amazing, strong individual. That you're standing up, you know, for your family and changing things for the better, and not only for yourself but for others out there. So, I really thank you for sharing and for wanting to make a difference. Yeah. Do we have any other questions out there, Leanne?
Only another encouragement. Jack Stanley says this guy's a legend. Good luck with your recovery.
Thank you, Stanley. Can I tell a quick story? Real quick?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
So this guy do a presentation today, his very first presentation in the room in training today, and I can tell you, Adelaide, watch out. You got a guy on a mission here, and he's an amazing presenter, and he really shares his heart, and he really does speak from a place of truth in love. And you guys have an amazing educator here in James, and we're really proud to be working with him.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Yeah, I just wanted to share some more experiences I've had with ice. I remember one time in particular, I wanted to quit ice, and I had my glass pipe, and I was like, I need to smash it, and I was having this internal war in my head, and I wanted to smash it, but at the same time I didn't want to smash it because once it's smashed, and I can't get it back, and so I remember I put the pipe in a bag, and I drove to the servo, and they got a big dumpster there, and I threw it into the dumpster, and a little bit happy with myself then, but you know what I did? The next day I came back and I went through that dumpster and I found that bag and I got that pipe and I cleaned that pipe and I used ice again, and that's just what this drug does, and it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense, and if you are a loved one who does have, somebody using, then it is going to require so much patience and that sort of thing, but I do want you guys to know as well that people that do use ice, they do, we do feel everything that we've done wrong. We do feel everything we've done wrong.
When we're coming off.
Yeah, when we're coming off, yeah.
Not at the time while you're using, it's when you're coming down, and absolutely you feel it, and it's painful, and a lot of times that's why people can't stop using, because it just hurts so much that you just pick up again, try and mask it, and everybody deserves a chance to change and to turn their life around. And one thing I want to say to people that are still using as well, the emotional chaos that you have inside, the anxiety and the depression and the emotional chaos that you do have inside, when you're clean, that goes. You don't have to feel that way anymore. You don't have to feel shame. You don't have to feel, like a piece of beep. All right. Yeah. You don't have to feel bad anymore. Just commit to recovery. Make contact. That's all you have to do. If you want to recover, that's all it starts with. Just make contact, and that's it. That's it. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask you one thing. How's life now, James?
Oh, it's amazing. Like my life, 10 months ago I was in a mental hospital going insane, and it's just amazing. The opportunities that come with being clean. I don't know what happens, but something special happens when you start to be clean and you start putting the work in. Some miracles happen, and it's something to think about. Because it really paid off for me, and everyone that I've seen that's been an addict and gotten clean, everyone's living good lives.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing stuff. So.
I remember before you came up here, James, I was on your Facebook having a look, because You know, you do some good vlogs on your Facebook too, so to have a look at what you got to say, because it's important. And I saw a picture of you with your kids, you know, and it really hit home to me that, you know, you were there with your kids and you were really in the moment, and you were able to, the picture said it all, you know, there was love there, and the kids were all together with you, and like, I got my kids, man, like, and that's so special. So that's the kind of thing that, you know, if you're out there in addiction and you might not have your kids with you right now, it is possible to have that back, you know. You just need to take the steps to get clean, yeah? That number to call is 0756656063, and we'll connect you with your state office, hey? So James, if you had one final word, to describe ICE, just one word, right down the barrel there, what would it be?
Evil.
Awesome.
Someone says that.
We've heard that a lot, James, and absolutely I agree with you. Yeah. You know, the demon in disguise, you know, and it comes to still kill and destroy your life, you know, and you deserve better than that. It's an amazing individual here, and I look forward to doing life.
Yeah, we got along.
With you.
Yeah, we got the journey
work to
ahead.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to,
Yep.
what's that word? What's our message? Ready?
Not
even once. Good night, guys. Thanks, James, for being on the show.
Thank you so much.